Hello, you are once again welcome back into our economics distance learning. I want to use this opportunity to welcome you back for us to look at the part 2 session of the forms of business organization. In this edition, we shall be looking at sole proprietorship business. Please be my guest and let us see what happens. Okay. Now, what is sole proprietorship business all about? What is it about? The sole proprietorship business is the type of business unit in which one person owns, controls the affairs of the business, and assumes the responsibility of bearing any risk that comes in the course of production. Now, the sole proprietor is responsible for the success or failure of the business. Therefore, he or she has the sole right to profits that comes out of production. It is important to note that the sole proprietorship business is the most oldest and commonest type of business organization in any country. As a result, it is mostly common in economic activities such as farming, retail rendering of services, and professions such as law, medicine, accounts, etc., etc. Now, the sole proprietorship business is also known as small-scale enterprise or one-man business. Okay. Now, if you see a sole proprietorship business, will you recognize it? What are the attributes or the characteristics or the features of sole proprietorship business? What distinguishes a sole proprietorship business from the other forms of business organizations in the country? Let's look at the features. 1. The sole proprietorship business is owned by one person. So the ownership is about one person organizing it. 2. The owner provides all the capital needed in the business. So capital contribution is relatively small. Okay. Point 3. Decision making is carried out by the owner alone without consulting anybody. So quick decisions are taken in sole proprietorship business. Point 4. It is easy and simple to form sole proprietorship business since it does not require the completion of any document. So it doesn't require the completion of any document. Point 5. There is absence of proper records. So the affairs of the business are kept secretly from outsiders. Point 6. The business lacks continuity since the death of the owner brings the business into an end. Okay. Now the other feature has to do with the sole proprietorship business is very flexible in its operation, because change can easily be made to suit any changing conditions, which means that if the owner feels that he or she is not making profit in his or her present operation, he or she can easily undertake another venture that will give him or her profit without subjecting such decision to any deliberation. Now, the other feature is that the business is seen as the same as the owner. So if the business owes a creditor, the creditor can hold the owner personally. Now you also realize that the liability of the owner is unlimited. So the sole proprietorship business has what we call it, unlimited liability, which means that in case what we call it, there's a problem, the personal belonging of the sole proprietor is also what at risk. These are some of the features of what sole proprietorship business. Now let us look at the sources of what funding a sole proprietorship business. What are the sources of what financing a sole proprietorship business? One, personal savings through his or her own capital accumulation. The sole proprietor can withdraw from his or her personal savings in order to expand his or her business. Two, the sole proprietor can also get funding from what? Borrowing from banks and other financial institutions like trade unions, social collectors, and money lenders, which usually attract interest on them. Point 3. Borrowing and assistance from families, friends, and relatives for expansion. Number 4. Trade credits. That is, the sole proprietor receives goods on credit from producers, and after sales, he or she pays back the cash to the creditor or the owner. Point 5. Plowing back profit or business savings, that is reinvesting part of the profit made by the business in the past years for future expansion. Point 6. Inheritance. So the inheritance means inheriting capital from a dead parent or relatives. Point 7. High purchase. High purchase means acquiring machines and other equipment through what we call high purchase. Here, the sole proprietor collects the equipment, makes payment or part payment at the time of what taking delivery of the equipment, and the balance or the amount left is being paid through what installments over a time. It can be monthly or weekly or yearly. Okay. Point 8. Investment support schemes. So government through their investment schemes can create specialized agencies like microfinance credit, which gives soft loans to support sole proprietors. Point 9. Equipment leasing. That is, so the sole proprietor can also take loan in the form of what we call a lease, where an equipment is being what we call hired, and make periodic payments as rent on the equipment. Then we also have rotating savings. Rotating saving here means what? A group of people can come together, contributes money, gives to one person in turns, so that everybody what we call so that maybe the contribution is given to one person, maybe in terms, it can be monthly or weekly or yearly. So rotating savings is what is popularly known in our local dialect as adashi. That one can be a source of funding. These are the various sources from which sole proprietorship can get funding. Okay. Now let us look at the advantages of operating a sole proprietorship business. What are the advantages? 1. A small capital is needed to start the sole proprietorship business, so the establishment is simple and easier. Now, since it is usually operated on small scale, its establishment is not difficult because a 2 Ghana cedis could be used to start up the business. 2. The sole proprietor enjoys all profits alone without sharing with anybody. Point 3. The setup of sole proprietorship business is easier since there is no law which requires the owner to fill any detailed document. Any detailed document like memorandum of association or article of association or partnership deed, etc., etc., or needs detailed registration before setting up the business. Point 4. Since the owner does not consult anybody, he or she takes quick decisions about the business, what matters. This enables the sole proprietor to respond to business problems immediately and on time. Point 5. The business relations and plans of the sole proprietor are kept protected or secretly from outsiders, since he or she is not compelled to publish the accounts of the business. Since he or she is not compelled to publish the accounts of the business. This helps the owner to keep business strategies secretly from outsiders. Point 6. The personal interest of the sole proprietor is very high, since he or she is responsible for any benefit or failure or consequences of waste. He or she is therefore prepared to devote his or her time and energy for his or her business to ensure its success. Point 7. There is high personal relationship or contact between the owner and the workers on one hand, and the owner and his or her customers on the other hand. This helps to maintain discipline, unity, and peace among the workers and the owner. At the same time, helps develop a close relation between him, the owner, and his or her customers or clients. Such close relations helps the owner, the sole proprietor, to meet the taste and needs of his or her customers, while at the same time promotes efficiency among his or her workers and the smooth running of the business. Point 8. The sole proprietorship business is very easier for the owner to change the nature of the business, especially if the owner feels that there is a higher profit existing in other areas. In other areas. Okay. Which is more rewarding than what he or she is currently pursuing. Thus, in other words, there is flexibility in the operation of a sole proprietorship business. Point 9. The sole proprietor can provide after sales and credit services to his or her customers. His or her what we call it customers. This will enable the customer who has not got ready cash or reaches home late after work to get access to goods and services. These are some. Okay, let's look at the disadvantages or the problems that may come as a result of operating a sole proprietorship business. What are the disadvantages of sole proprietorship business? 1. Due to the smallness of the capital that the sole proprietor may find it difficult to expand so as to enjoy the advantages of large-scale production. The reason is that it is difficult for the sole proprietor to get financial assistance because he or she usually lacks collateral security, and what is more is that it is believed that the tendency for the sole proprietor to default is high. Point 2. The liabilities of the sole proprietor is unlimited. That is, he or she is personally liable for all debts incurred by the firm. This means that if he or she is unable to pay his or her debts from the business proceeds, his or her personal possessions or belongings are at risk and may be seized and sold to defray the debt if declared insolvent. Point 3. There is lack of continuity in the operation of a sole proprietorship business after the death of the owner. That is, the death of the person will bring the business to an end, since the success of the business depends on his or her personal efforts. Point 4. The sole what we call it then the sole proprietor bears all losses alone without sharing with anybody. That is, he or she suffers greatly if there is any failure or losses in the business. Point 5. The owner, that is the sole proprietor, may take hasty decisions that could affect the business adversely. Point 6. Since the sole proprietor does things by him or herself, it may affect his or her health in the what? In the long run. Thus, he or she has to spend lengthy time in the execution of jobs, since there is what? Lack of division labor in the operation. These are some of the disadvantages of what? Operating a sole proprietorship business. Let's look at reasons why we have so many small scale enterprises or so many sole proprietorship businesses in our part of the country. What are the reasons why small scale enterprises dominate in most West African countries? 1. Because of small capital requirements. In other words, because small capital is enough to operate such business, housewives and other low-wage earners are able to utilize their small savings to set up their business, hence its domination. That is to say, that because people find it difficult to get access to large capital, they have no alternative than to form small scale businesses, which requires only a few Ghana cedis to start up. Point 2. Some people operate small scale business as a means of supplementing their incomes. In other words, one man business is seen as a means of supplementing incomes in West Africa. The reason is that income levels in West Africa are generally low, so in an effort to boost their living conditions, people invest their little capital in small scale businesses in order to make profits to supplement their little salaries or incomes to meet the high cost of living. Point 3. The management of small scale business is easier than large scale organizations. Now, since there is lack of managerial ability or entrepreneurial skills needed to handle large scale enterprises in West African economies, it is easier and safer for people to set up small scale firms. This is because small scale firms are found to be easier to be managed once it does not involve any complex managerial skills. Point 4. Because of mass unemployment situations. You realize that what we call it, because of mass unemployment in most developing countries, petty trading is undertaken by many people as a source of what? Employment. Point 5. Easy formation. It is easier to form small scale businesses since no document is required in its formation, and moreover, it is flexible to operate because the movement from one job to another does not entail much problems. As a result of its greater flexibility as well as its conduct, people prefer to own small scale businesses to large scale organizations. Point 6. Lack of skilled labor. In most West African economies, people do not want to embark on large-scale businesses which require skilled labor competent to work with sophisticated machines. In view of this, people prefer to set up small-scale businesses which where where repairs are easily made since small-scale operations do not involve the use of sophisticated machines which are difficult to handle. Point 7. Lack of trust. You know that people are unprepared to team up with other people because they doubt their integrity and ability to perform to achieve positive results. For this reason, they would like to go alone by forming their own small-scale business to avoid teaming up with people they perceive to be dishonest, corrupt, or have questionable characters. Point 8. Limited market. Now, due to the scattered or fragmented nature of the market in West African economies, it is easier and economical to establish small-scale business to serve the small number of customers located or settled at these places. Moreover, the low income levels coupled with high desire for foreign goods make it viable or profitable for people to establish small-scale businesses so as to save them from any excessive what we call excesses associated with large-scale production. Point 9. The desire to control the affairs of the business alone. You realize that many people want to control their business alone so that they can take a major role or stage in the activities of the business for people to see them. There are others who would like to control affairs so that they can earn the title boss or master or oga. This will make them devote most of their time for the business activities. Point 10. The nature of certain jobs. Now, the nature of certain jobs or services can be economically operated only on small scale because they require or involve personal services. That is, there are some jobs or services that can only be carried by the person undertaking the service, or if anything at all, with the assistance of one or two people. For this reason, if one establishes large-scale business to operate such jobs or services, it will not be useful and profitable. Examples of such services are barbering, hairdressing, medical or legal practice, consultancy services, etc. etc. Point 11. Desire to enjoy profits alone. Now, there are a lot of people who do not want to share profits with other people, and therefore they are not prepared to team up with anybody. They therefore prefer to set up their own small-scale business and work harder in order to enjoy all the profits that may arise. These are some of the reasons why there is domination of small-scale enterprises in West African countries. Now, what are the role of sole proprietorship business in the economic development of a country? What are the importance of sole proprietorship businesses in the country? Let's go through them one after the other. 1. Sole proprietorship business offers avenues for employment. Now, sole proprietorship business has given the opportunity for people with limited capital to engage themselves in employment, thereby providing for their livelihood. Point 2. Sole proprietorship business serves as a source of revenue to the government through taxation. Now, direct taxes that are levied on the incomes of those petty traders and the indirect taxes levied on inputs used and the goods produced constitute a major source of revenue to the government. This revenue mobilized helps in economic development. Point 3. Sole proprietorship business assists in the distribution of goods to the very remote areas of the country to complete the production cycle. They do this by acting as retailers and wholesalers. In a way, they help in promoting the production activities of producers and ensuring the maximization of consumers' satisfaction. Point 4. Sole proprietorship business helps supply or provides information about a product to the manufacturer through the consumer. They therefore serve as a link between the manufacturer and the consumer. Point 5. Sole proprietorship business paved way for people with limited capital to undertake economic activities so as to contribute meaningfully towards the development of the country. Point 6. Sole proprietorship business enables people to accumulate capital and acquire managerial skills required for large-scale production. That is, the long existence of small-scale business helps them to accumulate enough profit which are reinvested or plowed back for the expansion and produce at lower cost. Such production at lower cost will help increase demand, generating increase in employment and output. These are the importance of operating sole proprietorship businesses in the country. I'm sorry we have come to the end of our discussion on sole proprietorship business. Till I come your way for us to have a discussion on another business organization. I wish you all the best. May peace be upon you all. Stay blessed. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.